Hey guys, this is Josh from Grappazilla, and today I'm going to speak about the Dricus versus Khamzat fight that happened in UFC right now, or a week ago or a week and a half ago. So that fight was definitely a very interesting fight. Yes, a lot of people say it's boring. Okay, put that aside. But there was a lot of things to learn from there, and it wasn't just about wrestling. I think the first thing you need to learn was the word game plan, or two words in that case. And I think Dricus definitely didn't have the proper game plan to go against Khamzat. And there was three things. I mean, there's more, but the three biggest things I saw that I think he really got nailed on was this. The first was he was really highline striking it, which he does to everyone. But I think against a freestyle wrestler of that magnitude and grappler, I think you need to adjust your stance better, because I think every time he gave a hit, even if like I say, a right cross or a jab, it's almost a gift to Khamzat, because in the time he brings it his punch backwards to reset, Khamzat can shoot. Okay, and I think this is the first thing that was overlooked. So I think he would have had to maybe change his stance in order to deal with Khamzat's wrestling and his shooting ability. I think the second one was footwork. I think against a guy like Khamzat, if you're static and you're not really moving, although it could work against you too, and I'll explain why, it can really be a gift for Khamzat, like a free meal. So it seemed to me that Dricus could have moved more, okay, cut angles, etc., to make it a little bit harder for Khamzat to shoot, okay. Instead, he wasn't. Now, if Dricus would have done that and kept his legs together across him, etc., which he wouldn't, because he's an elite fighter. But just to give you an example, that would also be a gift for Khamzat, because anytime he would cross the legs or bring the feet really together and upwards, he would definitely he would definitely probably get taken down, or at least the takedown attempt would happen. There was also, now I'm going to say four things, but I think Dricus, when he was doing his sprawls, especially in the later rounds, and don't get me wrong, he was very tired. I'm sure he was. Although, wow, his conditioning was amazing. I think no one's questioning that. But I think a lot of times he could have hit into Khamzat stronger and also extend his legs out more. There was a few times in the later rounds where he started to sprawl, and I think it was, if I remember correctly, it was going before he tried to get into the guillotine. His left leg should have been sprawled out more in order to create pressure for on Khamzat, etc. And what that would do is make more that when you sprawl your legs on a sprawl on someone instead of being a little bit closer with your knees, what happens is the gravity of your center of gravity starts much more going towards on top of his neck and head. And in wrestling, you have kind of a principle a lot of people don't know, but you always want to control two of three positions of gravity, like body parts of gravity, or like your anatomical areas of gravity, which are your head, your hips, or your knees. So if you control one, it's good. If you control two, you got the guy down. But it also can be used in parterre as well, especially on that sprawl when you're on a little bit more in the top position. I think Dricus didn't do that properly, and I don't blame him. He's not a wrestler. He might not have known that, and I don't believe his coach was a wrestler as well. Now, the other thing I saw going for Khamzat, and by the way, Khamzat is a phenomenal grappler. Notice I'm saying grappler, not just wrestler or jiu-jitero or fighter, but also grappler. His grappling is amazing. So the thing I noticed about Khamzat, which I've noticed for a long time, and especially of a lot of guys from the stands, especially the Caucasus, especially for example from Dagestan, and obviously Khamzat's from Chechnya, but these schools of wrestling, Khamzat had a tendency in most of his fights, he'll go and grab you in a body lock, okay? And what'll happen is that you'll see he's so static in his upper body, but his hips and movement of his hips are so perfect in order to properly get you into a position he wants. While unless you start moving your hips like that too to counter his, he's gonna get you. Okay, I know it's hard to understand because I speak like an idiot, but this is one of the things that he does very well, and whoever can counter that is going to give him a lot of problems. And the last, I think, which is definitely eye-opening, is this. I think we saw, how would I say this? Well, I'm just going to say it. I think we're starting to see a real evolution in grappling within MMA. And it isn't that wrestling's so good or jiu-jitsu's bad, etc. That's not at all, because both are great, and you need to have both in order to succeed. If you don't have jiu-jitsu, there's a good chance you get caught, and if you don't know how to deal with jiu-jitsu, there's a very good chance that you'll get caught as well. Okay, or it can make your life hard. And obviously, wrestling, the same thing. Now, if you notice, Hamzat's ground positions were mostly parterre positions. Okay, and those parterre positions, which were quite interesting, led to quite a bit of abnormal positions that a lot of fighters don't practice out of. Okay, now put Dricus to the side. Okay, in Hamzat's position, okay, and Khamzat is very good at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I'm sure he's amazing, and he studies Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But I think the hierarchy of positions from Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is much different than the hierarchy of positions from wrestling. And also how you deal with pressure is very different in both arts. In Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, one of the beauties, and in this case, maybe one of the things that maybe has to go around, is the fact that when you have a lot of pressure and you can't you can't deal with it, you can always go to guard or pull guard from a position. While in wrestling, generally when there's a lot of pressure coming against you, you start to try to wrestle up or scramble out of it. Okay. Now, that said, also the hierarchical positions of where you place yourself as a fighter are very different from both. And I think jiu-jitsu is excellent, but I do believe there's something else that wrestlers, need to add to their game in order to sharpen their teeth of their wrestling. Doesn't mean that they shouldn't do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. No, they should do Jiu-Jitsu for sure. You have to. It's an amazing martial art, and it's the one you want to definitely have, because if you don't have it, once again, it's a problem. But I think, and I'm going to get a lot of heat from this because there's a lot of misinformation and confusion on what I'm going to say, is to add something like shuto, like shoot wrestling, ground positions, or especially for the submission chains, and as well as catch wrestling from those positions. Now, I'm not talking about the catch wrestling that's professional wrestling. I'm talking about catch wrestling because catch wrestling in the States, at least, came from folk style wrestling came out of catch wrestling. And check it out, it is true. And all the positions you have, also in freestyle compared to folk, most of them, in fact, all of them, you have the ability to submit out of them, and you have answers to help you. So I think if Khamzat would have known a little bit of catch wrestling, or trained with a catch wrestling coach who, very importantly, is very good at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and is a wrestling coach as well, regardless if it's USA wrestling or freestyle wrestler or folk style wrestler, I think Greco-Roman will put to the side in this case. But these two, freestyle, folk style, I think they would be able to help Khamzat get submissions from places that he is so comfortable and he's been going to for decades. Okay. While I'm not saying Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu doesn't have this, they definitely do, and they know those submissions, but it's not in your go-to. I'll give you an example. You ever watch baseball? Here I am with the Yankees cap. So the interesting thing about baseball is when someone hits a ball and there's a play, and then you see maybe the shortstop stopping it. He throws to the second base, gets a guy out, and the second base throws to the first base and gets that guy out, okay, for a double out. That is already set into position because they have a hierarchy, which they do according to every position. And the more you know that, the better generally you can be an asset defensively to your field. Now here, let's go the other way, which is offensively. I think that if he would have had someone to teach him, and it's not easy to find someone like this because a lot of guys like this sometimes they're not even popular in the catch wrestling community because they're not so good at promoting themselves, and maybe other guys are better at marketing, and these people aren't. And I know some of them who are amazing coaches, and they do have black belts in jiu-jitsu, judo, wrestling, so they can answer the questions for him and give him very, very fine, detailed submissions to add onto his freestyle wrestling parterre background. Well, it's not a parterre background, it's freestyle wrestling background, especially in the parterre. Now, does this mean that Khamzat doesn't know these positions? He probably does know these positions, but there might be a few things that he can do. And if he placed that hierarchy into a submission chain prior to jiu-jitsu, it might actually give him a little bit more advantage on the ground. I'm not saying that he needs it, but I think when you're fighting, you try to sharpen all your tools as much as you can, because if you stop sharpening them, someone else will sharpen them and they'll get you with something. Generally, actually, it's not a technique, it'll be more a strategy, but let's go with it. So those are the things I found from the fight. I actually enjoyed the fight. It wasn't action-packed, but it was a nice fight of strategy and seeing how game plan means everything in MMA. Yes, you have conditioning, you have technique, you have mentality, you have belief. But all that can really be hurt if you don't have a good game plan. And in this fight, Dricus, in my opinion, did not have a good game plan. And Khamzat did. Oh, and at the end of maybe a few days after the fight, I think Dricus or his coach said, we only need 3 months in order to wrestle with Khamzat. No, that's not happening. You're going to need a lot more than that from world class. It's not happening. But 3 months from the right coach who has the right understanding of the movement that Khamzat does, the parterre he does, and the type of wrestling he does, can definitely help you build your game plan in order to deal with him, because you better understand what to do. Okay, and then you'll develop more of those attributes needed in order to counter things. So I just wanted to say that too. So if you like this video, if you could like and subscribe, I'm going to leave a link if you'd like to buy me a coffee. And listen, guys, tell me what you think in the comments. If you hate what I said, hey, great, let's get a discussion going. If you love what I said, hey, thank you. I'm glad that you liked it. But until next time, have a great day.